Thanks again, everybody, for joining us today. And what we're going to be talking about is opportunities today in the note business, as well as what we were talking about. My little hook that got a lot of you guys on here was about the free houses, where to find those, and what the deal is on that. And we're going to talk about our Shadow Inventory Roadshow, which is a pretty innovative way of getting people into the note business and successfully turning wannabe note investors into note investors. So we'll be sharing some case studies with you and things along those lines. So we like to call this full contact note investing. We're the only ones that really do this in this manner, actually getting out there and kind of seeing the neighborhoods and areas that we're buying in. So we kind of termed it the full contact note investing. And I threw this up on top. It's pretty cool. We've been doing this since April. Next month will be a year we're doing this, and we've taken over 100 note investors, over 5,000 miles in the vehicles you'll be seeing later in the presentation, to look at almost 300 assets, and we're turning people into actual note investors. So it's really cool, and it's pretty sobering to think that I actually drove 5,000 miles doing this over the last year. So pretty cool stuff. First, a little bit about me. That's me in the left-hand corner there. My name is Mark Gold. My background's 25 years as a mortgage banker. I like to say that I've helped create a lot of these crazy opportunities that some of us are taking great advantage of, and some of us want to take advantage of. So for those of you that have been taking advantage of it, you're very welcome. I've been a licensed real estate broker in California since 1996. I've been involved in over 20,000 transactions on the mortgage and real estate side. And again, the reason I put that out there is, again, we're dealing with paper here, and I want you guys to understand that, at least from where I'm sitting, there's not too many people in the business that know the paper side better than me because of all the transactional stuff that I've been dealing with. I'm a co-founder of the American Home Recovery Fund, which is our private equity fund located out here in beautiful Irvine, California. And we operate two separate funds for that deal with non-performing loans, as well as recently we've been buying some real estate opportunities for rent to own, which we'll talk a little bit about that as well. I've been a note investor since 2011, and I'm also the bus driver of the Roadshow, which you'll see. And also, lastly, a very proud veteran of America's Navy. That's a picture of me with hair, and that's the ship that I served on for 4 glorious years way back when. So big shout out. If we have any veterans on the call, big shout out to you guys. Thanks for your service. We do whatever we can to help vets, both on the business side as well as on the note side when we're buying notes. So we do things we probably shouldn't do when we're dealing with a veteran. And again, it's the least we can do to kind of help do our part in that. So again, thank you guys for that. What we're going to cover today, we're going to cover a lot of stuff in the next probably 45 to 50 minutes. So again, take a lot of notes. I'll have this presentation available where I can email it to you, as well as there'll be a link for the recording. So, but there's a lot of stuff we're going to cover here, a lot of cool stuff. We're going to talk about today's opportunity in distressed paper. We're going to talk about, and again, I talk a little bit quick because I need to get through a lot of stuff. So I apologize for that in advance. We're going to go through some real case studies. We're going to talk about the hardest hit funds, which you guys will want to know about if you don't know about it already. We're going to talk about the road show that we do, and we're going to give you one amazing takeaway that you are not going to want to miss. And we're going to show you, of course, where you can get free houses, and that's not a joke. They really are available out there. Most important, and we've all seen this all over the place, just like Nike says, just do it. I run 2 funds now. We roughly about $15 million of property under management. It all started with us buying our first 3 notes for a total of $25,000. You just got to get into the game. Buy your first note, get into it. Don't feel that you have to study this business for 2-3 years, which unfortunately we see people do before they buy their first asset. Just get in there, do it. Make sure you know what you're doing with the teaching and the training that you're dealing with, and the kind of the mentoring that some of the guys in the business are offer out. But just get into the game and do it. You'll be happy that you do. Remember, it just takes one to start, guys. First thing you need to do is, we're talking about distressed debt. You need to figure out what your model is. Is your model cash flow? Our fund's model is cash flow. We want to get non-performing loans, make contact with the homeowner, get them reperforming, and start enjoying that cash flow that we see from them making the monthly payments. You might be getting into the business to get the properties. You buy the non-performing loan to get the property to do a fix and flip. what better way, which we'll talk about in a moment, how dried up the REO market is, what better way to get off-market REO properties than by buying the paper that nobody else knows about? And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Getting the properties for landlording. I'm assuming that there's a bunch of people on here who over the last however many years has been traditional real estate landlords. Buy a property for whatever deal, rent it out, and you got a nice little cash flow. And then also recent, what we started doing, which we'll touch a little bit on, which is will become a pretty popular model, is the rent to own or lease option model. We're starting to see a lot more of that out there now, which is again another great opportunity to take some of these assets and turn them into cash flow. So what is the real opportunity? Right now, there's less than 300,000 REO assets available nationwide. 300,000 sounds like a big number, but in the whole scheme of things, there were 3 million REO assets on the market at any given time, with the heat at the top or the bottom of the market, however you want to look at it, when everything right after the major meltdown. The real opportunity, guys, is that there's between 3 and 6 million delinquent mortgages, and that's what we call the shadow inventory. That number changes because, again, a delinquent mortgage is anything, what we consider a delinquent mortgage is anything that's 90 days past due or greater. And we're coming into a market now. We've been coming into a market now to where some people are getting some equity back. So, then they're able to catch up. Maybe they're able to refinance out of that upside down mortgage. So that's the number that's constantly moving. But again, there's millions of these toxic loans out there that are available for us to, buy and make plays on and do various things with. The banks have made, and again, we've seen this, the banks have made a massive move from selling REOs to selling the paper. At the end of the day, there's less liability to lawsuits. We've all seen and heard, flip on CNN and you hear about, Ocwen paying $6 billion, Chase getting hit with a $16 billion fine, B of A paying billions and billions of dollars in fines, all for these bad foreclosures and the way that they've been handling it with the robo signing and all these other things that have come to pass. So from looking at it from where you guys are sitting, it's like, why would the bank sell the stuff at a discount? They're really not selling it at a discount. They're selling the liability. They're not really selling the asset. So it makes sense when you really look at it from that perspective. We're starting to see foreclosure filings tick up a little bit now, but again, nothing like it was back in 2008, 2009, 2010. Okay, so let's get right into it. I'm assuming I see every hand up on the screen right now. So who's interested in seeing how to get a 742% return on a single note investment? Yeah, I thought so. So let's talk about our first case study. This is Dana and Michelle in Warren, Ohio. This was an asset that when we first started actually going around and looking at our own assets, again, because when we started our fund 3.5 years ago, we said we need to get a good feel for the neighborhoods and the areas that we're actually buying in. Because when we started our business, we said we were going to buy all non-performing loans in California. So did everybody else. And so we quickly figured out that we needed to be buying, out where people weren't buying at the moment. So we started buying in Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois quite heavily. So we said we got to get pretty in tune with that neighborhood. So we went out there, we started driving. Lo and behold, we drive by this house, and you go up and knock on the door. I introduced myself. Michelle answered the door at the time, and I introduced myself. Hi, I'm Mark. I'm your new lender. And here's this guy wearing a beanie, shorts, and a winter sweater, standing out her door, and she's like, "Uh-oh," right? She hasn't heard from her lender in a couple of years, probably, which was GMAC, by the way. And I said, "This is not an uh-oh moment. Nice to meet you, and this is a hallelujah moment because I'm here to help keep you in your home if you want to stay in it." So it was a pretty cool moment for both of us standing at the doorway. So she invited me in. I ended up finding out the story. It was her grandmother's home. They've been in the family for 40-something years. And then, the market hit. Her husband was a pool maintenance guy, probably not the best, self-employed, probably not the best business to be in cold Ohio, especially when the market blew up. That was some of the first bills that people stopped paying. So that started their spiral down. And they're about a couple of years, 2.5 years in payments behind by the time I get involved. So I put a plan together with her, get all their current contact information, and say, okay, we have a plan. Let's see how this plays out. So I'll give you a little bit of the economics. We paid $26,000 for the loan. The current value of the property was about $68,000, and they owed about $68,000 plus, of course, the past due amounts. So they weren't quite as upside down as some of the loans that we typically buy. They were just about, they had a light at the end of the tunnel. The cool thing was they could afford the current payment. Their current payment was only $606 a month. They couldn't rent anything for less than what they were paying for the house. So they just needed a jump start to be able to start making that payment again. So I told her, okay, first thing we're going to do is you're going to start making your regular payment. There were roughly $22,000 in arrears behind them. That I said, don't worry about that now. I have a plan that I want to kind of talk to you about. So we got them started making that payment, and then we talked to them. I talked to Michelle about the hardest hit funds. So hardest hit funds is, and you guys, I'm not going to cover too much of this. Google it after the presentation, and you'll see the power of this. It's basically almost $8 billion that was set aside by TARP, the Troubled Asset Recovery Program, to the 18 hardest hit states for foreclosure avoidance and payment assistance for the homeowners in distress. So I told Michelle, I said, what I want you to do is here's the website. You're going to go on here after I leave. I want you to apply for the hardest hit funds, which in the case of Ohio would pay up to $25,000 to catch them up on their payments. So she did, and it took a while. It took about 6 months of going back and forth because she wasn't the best. What we didn't know at the time is that you need to stay on the homeowners a little bit tighter than we did to be able to get through the process. So they ended up. And what I did tell her is that if they didn't qualify for the hardest hit funds, that I would just wipe out the $22,000 in arrears. So think about it. At the end of the day, I paid $26,000. They owe me $68,000 anyway, so I'm playing with monopoly money at this point. If we ended up getting the money from hardest hit, then great. We had a really nice little hit. But if not, I can make that go away and just get them making that payment again, and I still have a great return on the investment that I made. So fast forward, let's talk about the economics of the deal. We received at the time 6 months of payments at $606. Now remember, guys, I paid $26,508 for this loan, so we got $3,600 in payments. We ended up getting $32,000 from the hardest hit funds, and I'd never seen this happen before. But we got the $25,000, which paid the $22,000 in arrears. We allotted $3,000 in past due property taxes that the homeowner would have had to pay, so we paid that out of that. And then we actually got the next 8 months of payments that hardest hit paid in advance for them because they were still in financial distress. So we actually ended up getting 32 grand in a single hit from the state. So now we're at $35,600 that we received on a $26,000 investment. I'm playing on the house now, right? We got all our cash out plus a little profit. So now we're playing with funny money. We ended up doing what's called an FHA 1023 refinance, which is a refinance specifically for the distressed homeowner that got modified now and was able to start making the payments again. It didn't matter what their payment history was before. So we ended up getting cashed out at 57, and that's at 96.5% of the current value of the property. So we ended up getting cashed out at $57,700 on an FHA refinance. That makes the total that I received $92,403. That's a 371% return in 6 months, or 742% annualized. Who's interested in getting into a deal like that? Yeah, I thought so, guys. Amazing stuff. Again, it doesn't happen on every deal, but if you could tap into the hardest hit funds on 10%, on 5%, whatever, those are home run deals that really make a difference in your investment strategy. Or if you're the onesie twosie investor, imagine you get one of those deals. That's the beauty of buying non-performing paper. It's really crazy. So now, great, I just gave you a home run. So are all deals home runs? I'm assuming you kind of already figured out that this one may or may not be. This is a house that we bought. This is a note that we bought in Sullivan, Indiana. Hopefully you guys can hear me clearly. I paid $250 for the first mortgage on this property. Yes, that was $250 for the first mortgage on this property. I've paid bar tabs more than I paid for the mortgage, for this person's mortgage on this house. Now, again, this is just a modest little house. I think it's about 1,400 square feet. It's in a little town west of Indianapolis, about 90 miles west. And in an absolute red, white, and blue bleeding town of 6,000. Just an amazing town. Their Veterans of Foreign War Post has a Huey helicopter on top. Almost every house, except for this street, of course, has an American flag. This is middle America right here. So we bought this. When I saw it on the tape that I was looking at when we were buying assets, I saw $250. So at first I figured it was a mistake. And then when I looked a little bit deeper and put a phone call in, they said, "Oh, we're selling it for $250." So I said, "Okay, I'll buy it." So These are the two pictures that you see here. The one on the left is kind of the side view. That's our property in the middle. And then the one on the right, that's looking straight at it from the street. So I didn't do too much due diligence, of course. I mean, it's a house is a house, right? So we bought it and then put it on the side for a couple of months, and then made outreach to the homeowner. Ended up, she was already out of the property, got divorced. Her husband left her actually, so she ended up moving in with her mom and dad in a town, I think Terre Haute, which is maybe about 20 miles away. And she's like, yeah, I'm happy to just sign it over to you. So we ended up a little bit further down the road. We said, okay, let's order a BPO on this property. Let's see what we're dealing with before we kind of finalize everything. And so we get a new BPO. And again, the reason I didn't do a BPO when we first bought the note is because the cost of the BPO is almost as much as I paid for the note, right? BPOs or broker price opinion is 125 to 150 bucks. I only paid 250 for the asset, so I wasn't going to spend a lot of money on it anyway. To be quite honest with you, I only bought it so I can say that I paid $250 for a mortgage. So do the math on that one. So we ordered a new BPO, and lo and behold, we get it back, and this is what we get. So we're sitting there looking at this, trying to figure out what the heck happened. I mean, this house, it looked like Superman came flying out of that house, right? Goodbye, Superman. So ended up, long story short, the place is an absolute total disaster. Something happened to where this hole in the side, water was getting into the house. Again, this was probably sitting vacant for a couple of years. Water had gotten in. I actually went out and visited this property a couple of years ago, and walked in, and I mean, the floor was separating from the walls, and I mean, the floor was collapsing. The walls were staying. So it was a total disaster. And again, so we're all deals, home runs. No, we found a way. We found a way to turn lemons into lemonade in this case. We ended up we're going to turn it into a donation house. We have corporate sponsors that will, or they're going to pay for the rehab on the property, and we'll donate it to a disabled veteran in the community. So that's something that's in the works on a much larger scale of what we're doing. So again, from an investment perspective, not a great deal, but from what we can do with it, absolute home run. So are all deals home runs? Not necessarily. So you have to, again, be careful with what you're doing, and you need to make sure that you're doing your due diligence very well on these deals. All right. The importance of lender insurance. This is something with all my vast experience. The first year and a half, we operated without even thinking about lender insurance because we were buying defaulted, non-performing loans. So we ended up getting a blanket policy of insurance on our portfolio probably about a year and a half, 2 years ago. And one of the deals that we had, this one sold this past summer. This is a condo in Canal Winchester, which is a suburb of Columbus, Ohio. We purchased the note in 2013, in June 2013, for 7,200 bucks. The foreclosure took us a little bit over a year, so foreclosure was finished in July 2014. We got the keys to the property on July 10th, right after the foreclosure was completed. I think it was on July 5th actually when it was done. This is what we walked into, guys. Ouch. In case you can't tell what that is, that's black mold growing on top of black mold, growing on top of black mold. Again, water came in, just absolute destroyed. There's black mold growing on that tube television there on the floor as well. So, again, what do you do? It's a condo. I mean, the structure, the outside structure obviously is covered, but everything from the walls in isn't. Well, this is what we got literally 30 days later, on about August 10th, was a check from our insurance company for $36,000. So remember, we paid 7,200 plus we had a couple of $1,000 in expenses for foreclosure and the like. We ended up taking some of that money, stripped the condo down to bare. So we pulled all the sheetrock out, pulled everything out of there, just left it studs on the wall, and we ended up selling the property as is for $20,000. So again, the importance of lender insurance, we were able to take a 7,200, let's call it a $10,000 investment, sell that for 20 grand, and ended up pocketing some of the insurance money, which worked out perfect for us. Great return, right, guys? Yes, sirree. That's the little smiley face there. Okay, how to improve your successes. This is one of your great takeaways here, and it all starts with communication. Door knocks, drive your assets, communicate, and what we call RPC. It all starts with right party contact. If I can talk to the homeowner, let's go back to Dane and Michelle in Ohio. If I could talk to them, I could solve their problem. Whatever solving their problem may be. Solving their problem might be modifying their loan. Solving their problem might be taking a deed in lieu of foreclosure and taking them out of a situation that they've already kind of walked away from, but is still lingering, keeping them up at night because they're still facing uncertainty in how that thing's going to be disposed of. So if I can talk to them, I can solve that problem. And in the small percentage, if we can't talk to them or we can't solve the problem, then we foreclose on the property. So again, it all comes down to how can you get a hold of these people? So now your biggest takeaway for tonight is right here. One of your biggest takeaways. Who here wants to see how to get almost any borrower to call you guaranteed within 24 hours? I'm assuming everybody's hands are up on this one as well. And we stumbled into this one by accident, but it's worked like a champ. There's a few people on the call who have actually experienced the fruits of this deal here. This is Mark's gold nugget for the night. Again, a little play on words. My name's Mark Gold, so it's my gold nugget. It's a little fun, right? Shut up, Mark. All right, so what we did is we had these little neon orange stickers made up, and it's not the whole thing. We've got the whole document actually on the website. You'll be able to download. You'll be able to use that. Our gift to you. Let's read through the top part of it. That's the most important part. Mortgagee, who's me, has caused on this day a personal inspection to be made of these premises. The inspection did not reveal that mortgagors or persons lawfully claiming under the mortgagors are presently occupying or will occupy the premises. Therefore, me, the mortgagee, considers these premises abandoned. So let's see. So we had a property in Dolton, Illinois, or it might be Dolton, Indiana. I can't remember. It's right at the border over there. We've driven this property. We've had door knockers go out. We've driven this property probably a half dozen times. We've knocked on the doors. We've seen the blinds move, so we knew somebody was there. But again, they're trained to not answer the door. They're trained to just stay in hiding because nobody's done anything with them. So we said, let's try this on that. So one of my business partners, we had him go out there when he was out for some other business, and he says, let's stick this on the door and see what happens. So he goes out there, sneaks up to the door, puts the sticker on it, goes back into his car, calls us up at the office, says, I put the sticker on there. He drives around the corner. He's not even around the corner, and the phone at the office rings. This is like in the morning Chicago time, so it's we're just getting started over where we are out here in California. Lo and behold, it's Mr. Brown, who the hell put this? We didn't abandon. He's cursing up a storm. This guy is going off. Now remember, we've had this loan for 6 months, and we have not been able to talk to this guy. He's going off for 2 minutes probably, F bombs, and he's all over the place. Finally, he stops, and I said, Mr. Brown, I am so sorry. We had a service that was supposed to put up a letter for you to please call us, but they apparently put up the wrong one. But while I got you on the phone, pause. Guess what, guys? I had his loan modified a week later, literally. So again, found out what the problem was. Again, he was in fear of losing the house, so he was just playing ostrich, keeping his head in the sand. All I had to do was be able to talk to the guy. So talked to him, got his loan modified, another happy homeowner saved from the brink of destruction thanks to the mortgage meltdown. So guaranteed that this will work if there's somebody in the property, or B, yeah, that's it. Just A, if they're in the property. If they're dead or they've moved out, you're not going to get a phone call. So guaranteed if they're in there, you're going to get a phone call from them on this deal. So pretty cool stuff, guys. Feel free to use that one. It'll be on the Note Doc. It's actually on the Note.guru site. We'll talk more about that later. The importance of what I'm trying to get across when I do these presentations is looking to diversify and be able to take advantage of the global opportunities, not just the opportunities in your backyard. I'm out here in Newport Beach area of Southern California. There's ungodly amount of money out here that wants to play in this business. But the biggest frustration that I get, and for those of you that are out here in California, in Southern California, you'll get it. We get people that want to play in the business, but they want to buy non-performing notes that are west of the 5 freeway. That means they're non-performing notes in Newport Beach, Malibu, La Jolla, all the $1 million homes. And guess what, guys? They don't exist. The opportunities are the ones I'm showing you here. It's buying the note for $7,000 and getting a $20,000 payoff. It's buying that $20,000 mortgage, getting that loan modified, and then getting a ridiculous return, but making monthly, getting your cash flow going on that thing. It's buying these 20, 30, 40, 50, $60,000 properties. Out here, you try to talk to somebody in Southern California, and I'm sure other, high-end areas wherever you guys may be, about a $50,000 house. I mean, some of these people, it costs more to put a roof on their house than $50,000. So there's no reality of what these houses that we're investing in or these notes that we're investing in the middle of the country really are. So it's a real eye opener. So again, always you got to look for, especially when the competition is as fierce as it is in a lot of these markets, you got to look outside of your comfort zone. You got to look outside of your backyard. Okay, so let's talk about free houses. These are two actual houses that are available for free. And again, as you'd assume, this is somewhat tongue in cheek. And I assume that nobody was interested in getting free houses, especially when they found out what they are. But surprisingly, with risk comes reward, and not everybody's adverse to doing things differently. So these are two properties. I took these pictures in Chicago, Illinois. Chicago's top 3 or 4 city, especially in recovery right now, and especially population, rental market, and everything that goes with it. It's got a pretty thriving economy. We'll talk a little bit more about the demographics. But Chicago, the problem that they have is that there's been over 40,000 properties demolished because the property owners have walked away from them. So they literally have a demolition court to where they'll seize the properties and demolish it based on water liens, water and sewer liens put on the properties. So these are two properties that were part of this pool that we were looking at. The properties are free. You just have to take care of the liens that are on it, which are water and sewer, which could add up to substantial amounts. Some of them go up to $20,000. But you're going to have that going with at some form or fashion to some level on properties that you're going to be buying from government agencies anyway. So these are two. The beauty of this is these are 100-year-old structures. You look at the architecture, especially the one on the left. Amazing looking properties. You don't know what's going on inside of it, but even figure if you need a full rehab, a gut rehab on these things. All the wood, and when you see the metal plates over the doors, the cities require them to do that to zombie-proof these houses so people don't go into them. You'll also see red X's, not on these, but some of these properties have red X's, means that if it's on fire, the fire department's not allowed to go into the properties. So that's what you're dealing with there. Now, the importance of this is that the 40,000 properties that were, single family, 2-plex, 3-plex, 4-plex, 8-plex, whatever, all those people got displaced. All the renters got displaced. They didn't leave Chicago. Most of them are still there. Most of them moved in with family members or other families to be able to kind of at least live somewhere. So this is a prime opportunity to be able to rehabilitate some of these properties. Imagine you can get into something like this, which we've gotten some 4 units. They call them 4 flats over there. And for $15,000, $20,000 a door, you have a fully rehabilitated 4-unit property for, let's call it $80,000 or $100,000. The rents are still $1,300 to $1,500 to $1,600 a month per door for these. So from a rental perspective, again, we're talking about notes, we're talking about opportunities in different avenues. Now you've got a property you can come in to pick up for next to nothing, pay the liens on it, rehabilitate it, and you have an amazing cash flow property. You can turn around, and that's probably something that's going to be worth a couple of $100,000 as the market continues to improve over there with all these zombie houses over there. So again, pretty cool stuff. These are available. We have a tie-in directly with the city to be able to see what's available. And again, they're not all as you'd assume. They're not all. Yep, should have said that first. This is the importance of knowing where your paper is. They're not all in the best of neighborhoods, but that's okay, right? We're talking about housing's needed where housing's needed. The reason I put this one up, again, this was taken out of the rearview mirror as I'm taking the pictures of this property. So this area has maybe a little bit of a crime area. The reason I say that, not everybody wants to take properties even for free in those areas, but there are a lot of people that would take those and turn them into rental properties. Just so happens that I was sitting in the middle of Lawndale, Illinois, which was ranked in 2014 as the most dangerous city in America. So again, tongue in cheek, I say they're free houses, but I was shocking how many people actually came back to us and said they want to look more into this opportunity. So again, not for everybody, but there are amazing opportunities over there for that. Let's talk a little bit about the Roadshow. We're probably about 2/3 through here, so we'll cruise through, and then we'll open it up to questions. What is the Roadshow? So we've done 8 of these. I gave you the numbers on the first slide. We just finished our 8th one in Charlotte, North Carolina. What we do is we spend 3 days on the road. When we're doing a 2-day tour, it's typically about 700 miles that we cover. And this is on one of our first ones. We visited 36 assets, and we had over 40 offers submitted on assets. So we take usually about 10 or 12 investors. Here's a picture of the. We go in these really cool black Sprinter vans. We roll like the Secret Service when we're out and about. That's if for those of you that know Scott Carson, he joined us on quite a few of these. So he and I go around, and we're actually driving the vans around. And in this case, what we're talking about, this was spending the first 2 days viewing assets in Illinois and Indiana. So we leave out of O'Hare, Chicago O'Hare Airport area, and spend the first night there, and then end up going through parts of Chicago, showing you some of these opportunities that we've uncovered in Chicago with a few others I'm going to share with you in a moment. And then we cruise across northern Indiana, and then end up that first night down in Indianapolis. So we cover a lot of ground on that first day, typically seeing somewhere about 20-25 assets. And again, it's not that we say that you have to look, that you need to view every single asset that you want to invest in. But again, for us, it's getting a feel for the neighborhoods. We buy a lot in Kokomo, Indiana. I never heard of Kokomo, Indiana, other than in the Beach Boys song, which wasn't that Kokomo. Found out that it was that was the number 2 most depressed city, right behind Detroit, Michigan, that was ready to fall into the crevice of destruction until Chrysler came out and opened up their biggest transmission plant in the country in Kokomo. So that became a new thriving area. We're sitting literally in a coffee shop finding out about this while we're on one of our trips. So it's things like that when you're out in the communities. That's nothing you're going to see on CNN. Nothing you're going to read in the Wall Street Journal unless you read every single column of every single page. So by being out there in these communities where we know there's great opportunities, we uncover a lot of these amazing nuggets that we find. So again, it's getting more of a grasp on the areas of what we're trying to convey here. Day 3, welcome to the war room. What do? We're in there for 6 hours. We're going through what we just saw the last 2 days. We're doing valuation checks. We're going through all these assets we saw, which are the good ones, which are the bad ones, which are we interested in, which do we throw in the trash. And we're going to see the good, the bad, the ugly, right? Not everything is that Ohio deal that I showed you with the great return. Some of them are the Sullivan, Indiana Superman houses. So again, you're going to get a good feel for what's out there and what you're actually looking at. Remember, you're going to have the benefit of having all the available asset data several days before we depart on the trip. So what a lot of guys do, guys and gals, is they go through the assets. They kind of make their short list of what looks interesting to them. Then when we're out there, when we're visiting them, we see which ones fit the model and which ones, how did we do? How did Zillow do on that when we're looking at it? How are the pictures on Google Earth? There's a lot of things that go through what that decision-making process is for these individual assets. So that's day 3. After that, we do periodic conference calls and webinars to cover questions. We try to keep the group together. There's a lot of joint ventures that kind of partner up on the groups. People will partner up to buy assets. Again, it's building this note family that we like to call it from a lot of the conferences, from Scott Carson's events, from our events. It's becoming this real family style way of investing, which is pretty cool. You'll also be in our elite partner group that gets first look at all of our exclusive purchase opportunities. So again, there's a lot of value in there. I also have the availability to joint venture on deals, like I said. There's just a lot of different ways to get involved in the business. And again, it all starts with getting out there, getting your feet wet, and being able to kind of see what's out there. I put this up here at the last minute. This is a JV deal. We did our Florida Roadshow 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago. Here's a sample of a deal that we saw. This is a beautiful high rise. If you look in this picture, the one in the middle with the circle around it, that's the property. It's right on the water. This is a $650,000 condo. We have a group from our Florida Roadshow that came together and is buying the thing, buying it for $395. Florida's priced a little bit higher percentage, especially for the high end stuff, and they're going to make somewhere between $150 and $180, between $150 and $180,000 on this deal. Real deals under contract in the works right now. The foreclosures 2 years down the road, it's going to be completed in the next 45 to 60 days. That's the kind of collaboration that we love seeing with our Roadshow guys. So it's pretty cool. Back to Chicago. I just threw that in because I wanted you guys to see the opportunities as far as how joint ventures work with working with us and working with the people that you're going to meet on the Roadshow, which is pretty powerful stuff. So there's a map of downtown Chicago. On the towards the top middle there, you'll see the University of Chicago. That's one of the top 5 universities in the country. So the importance of this is that below that you have East 63rd Street running across from the freeway to the water. That's one of the top 3 sites that President Obama is looking to put his library in. the importance of that. We were down there. It's not south side of Chicago, but it's south of the university, pretty close to the university. When you drive through that area, which we've been doing for the last year and a half, you're starting to see the hundreds of millions of dollars of city improvements that are being done, the regentrification of the areas over there. People like us buying up these properties, rehabbing them, turning them into into rental properties, lease to own properties for that whole area. It's we've watched it pulling, as most of you have seen. I don't have too much hair left on my head. That's why I lost all the hair on my head, because we didn't have $1 billion to buy up everything that we could see that we can grab over there. So there's like a 10-block string right there on 63rd Street, which that's the center, that's ground zero of where all of this regentrification is happening. These are properties you can pick up for anywhere from $30,000 to $80,000 or $100,000, maybe a little bit more now. I haven't been there in about 4 months since the winter started. For 2-unit, 3-unit, 4-unit properties. So these are the kind of opportunities in Chicago that we absolutely fell in love and have continued to fall in love with in that market. So again, just wanted to share that with you guys as well. That was actually recently in the news, that it was listed as probably one of the forerunning places for Obama's library. That was actually in the Hawaii Journal or something like that. The news in Hawaii, which also was vying for one of the spots for that. So again, now we're going to talk about a place just north of Chicago. Again, we're getting close to the end here, guys. So stick with me. Wausau, Wisconsin. We say, why Wausau, right? Wausau, Wisconsin is the county seat in the crossroads of the state of Wisconsin. Very strong mix of a blue and white collar workforce. Population is 60,000 in a one-of-a-kind community for investing in an REO to rental model. There's no bad areas in the city. You pull up the city, there's no gang areas, there's no south side of Chicago areas. The entire city is great, and we've been buying somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 40 properties a month over there that we're picking up from the banks as REO. So this is a little bit different. We've got a rent-to-own model over there where we have a list of over 400 people that want to do a lease option or a rent-to-own in that specific community. So we can't buy them fast enough over there. Anywhere from $25,000 to $100,000 for a regular ready to go REO that needs a rehab. And I'm going to walk you through what one of those scenarios looks like. Again, it's just all about showing you where the opportunities are and how we kind of do this. More on the Wausau market at Visit Wausau. Amazing little town. Freezing at this time of the year. You won't catch me back there right now, but it's a beautiful area. And again, a lot of people live out there. So this is a property. This is one of the REOs we just took. This is a 2,000 square foot house with a full basement. This is the condition when we bought it. So it's broom swept, it's carpeted. Again, the carpet needs to be changed. We're going to do a rehab on it. But you can see the quality of this property. You'll look at the exterior. We closed on this in December, actually. I'm sorry, just into the first of the year we closed on this one, like the second week of January. So 2,000 square feet. It's on Buttercup Road. It's on 3 acres, built in 2003, 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage. We bought it for $113,000. All it needs is paint and carpet for $5,000. We actually the banks that we're buying from don't want the money for the properties. They're actually lending us non-recourse financing, which means no personal guarantees, at 4 to 5% on these. So we actually just put $40,000 down, financed the balance of it, and then we already had a homeowner ready for it. We executed a rent-to-own option fee. They paid us $5,000 for the option to buy that property at $172,000, which is down at the bottom there. They're paying us rents of $1,600 a month. So when you factor in all the numbers, we've got an annual rent received of $19,000. Our annual debt service is $2,900. That's the payments we make to the bank. We sold it. We're going to sell it when they close on it after the 2 years as a rent to own for $172,000. That's a 53% cash on cash return and an almost 300% return after 2 years on an ROI. These are just insane numbers, guys. And we're doing, like I said, we can't buy them. We can't buy these things fast enough. So again, opportunity, and that's what we're trying to share with you now. Are different out of the box thinking ways to look at these opportunities. I think we got Mike on the phone on the call here. Mike is one of Scott Carson's mastermind students. He bought a property that we had. He wasn't on the Chicago Roadshow, but he ended up buying one of the assets that was in Waukegan, Illinois, for $17,500 from one of our first roadshows, which was back last June. And I recommend his testimonial is on the website. He thought we ripped him off actually when he bought this thing, because when he bought it, he called the real estate agent who told him the property was sold already. So he bought it for 17.5. Lo and behold, there was a short sale already in process. So now he bought the loan for 17.5. He's now the bank that has the ability to okay the short sale. Guess what, guys? It showed a couple. It closed actually 2 weeks after they bought it for $40,000. Paid 17.5. Probably paid some fees on the closing. I don't know what his net was on it, but sold it for $40,000. Does that get anybody excited? Gets me excited, guys. Okay, where does the shadows lurk? All over the place. New York, New Jersey, we've done our trips. South Florida, we're going to be doing one this year. We just finished Jacksonville and Orlando. That's where that Sarasota asset I showed you that we put on the contract was. We've done St. Louis and Kansas City. Chicago and Indy is where 80% of what we buy is, and add Wisconsin into that one. Indy and Ohio, and we just finished the North Carolina roadshow, which impressed the heck out of me. I'd never been to North Carolina. I've bought some assets there, but we saw more good than bad, which was, normally you see a lot of rougher areas. North Carolina was absolutely beautiful. So again, these are the areas, no matter where in the country you are, wherever you call home, live where it's nice, like where I am right now and down by Newport Beach. I live here, but guess what, guys? I invest in all these other cities that are up on there. That's where the money's to be made. Invest where you can make your best returns. So that's the beauty of what the Roadshow delivers to you. Gene Chandler, who might also be on, I can't see the list right now. I got a couple of samples. Gene came on one of our roadshows I want to say last August, out in Chicago and Indy. And Gene's a player. Gene bought a bunch of notes out in his neck of the woods. He lives in Indiana. So I just want to walk you through a couple of his samples here. Not samples, these are a couple of closed deals. Elkhart, Indiana, which is up in the South Bend, Notre Dame area. He bought this one for $6,500, sold it for $20,950, made a 222% ROI in 1 month. And you can look Gene up, give him a call, and he'll tell you he's not lying on this. No, I'm not lying on this, rather. Fort Wayne, Indiana, a little bit south of there. He bought this note at $42,000, sold it for $60,000, made a nice $18,000 profit. 5 months in the deal, 43% ROI. Marion, Illinois, can't remember where that was. I think that's a little bit west of Chicago. He bought that one at $10,000, sold it for almost $40,000 in 1 year, and again, almost a 300% ROI. Is that the same one? No, different one. Marion, Illinois. Bought for $6,500, sold it for $30,000, $23,500 profit. These are the kind of deals you can get in the middle of the country. These are the kind of deals you can get. These are the kind of ROIs you can get spending $6,000, $10,000, $20,000 on these what we call low balance, low value assets. There's absolute gold, no pun intended, in these deals, guys. So let's finish up here with the Roadshow. So what we created, again, we found a lot of these guys who were, going to the conferences, trying to put everything together. What we did is we put together a complete business in a box. You're getting contacts of all the note sellers. You're getting, our analytics with that covers 12 plus different exit strategies. You're getting a Rolodex of all the service providers with updates. When I bought my first notes, with my vast experience in the paper side, I didn't know who the hell to call to service notes or to do a BPO or to get what's called an O&E report, which we can cover all that later. So we're fast tracking you in the business. We're taking a year's worth of trying to figure out what to do and giving it to you all in that first weekend. There's no capital providers out there now, lenders that'll lend on NPLs. We give you contacts to those guys as well. And we give you the software that manages all that for you. So again, it's a complete business in a box. So wrapping up now, we have the next two road shows, which, and again, we're coming into the thaw, so we'll start doing a little bit more of these. We have the Spring into the Midwest. Jasmine, who's on here, is going to love that one. Spring into the Midwest at the end of March. We're hitting Chicago and Indy again, our usual trip. It's March 28th to 30th. The cost is $2,500 for the first person, includes the hotels and your coach fee. You just got to fly yourself out there and feed yourself. So we cover everything on there. And the special right now is bring a second person for $500. So make it your spouse, business partner, whatever it may be, $3,000, two people, for everything that I just showed you, including the 3 days on the trip, and guaranteed to get you your first deals. Space is very limited. You can see that we do, we're not doing these big buses. We're doing these little Sprinter vans. Florida was the first time we had actually two vans going at one time. So we typically just do one at a time. So it is very limited. And then again, the reason I was talking about Wausau, again, limited opportunity to take advantage of a market condition that doesn't exist anywhere else. So we call that one. Actually, I can't take that one from Scott. Scott Carson coined that one on our first one that we did. We call it the REO Speedwagon Tour, and that one will be 1 day on the road, and that's in Wausau, Wisconsin, April 18th and 19th. It will be much warmer then. It will be much warmer there by then. And that's 1 day on the road and then 1 day going through the assets, and that's specifically for the rent-to-own model. That one's $1,500 again because it's only 1 day on the road. $1,500 per person. Again, bring a second person for $500. Space also very limited. Quick video here, guys. Let's watch that. Cool stuff. We actually brought a film crew with us on the second Roadshow to get some of that footage because it's just awesome stuff that we knew we were gonna be changing people's lives, turning people from note zeros to note heroes. All right, so I'm going to see if I can put the question screen up here real quick. Hopefully you guys are still with me. There we go. Okay, so let me let's see. Okay, so we got some questions here. Actually, let me put this back up. Oh, not that. I can't figure out how to do that. Anyway, here's I'll send this out, so don't worry about writing down my stuff. Most everybody knows how to get a hold of me anyway. You can find it from the deal there. Okay, so let me start deleting. You're welcome, Mr. Isaac. Celine just has a big old wow. Nice. Oh no, then Celine. Which bank is this lending in Wausau, if you don't mind? I do mind. Any contacts at Celine Financial, pursuing a note with that company? We do. You'll want to hit me offline. That's Celine also. All right, you're looking to buy a non-performing note from them. Yeah, Celine, hit me offline at my email, and we can chat about that. I do have a contact there. Yeah. This is stuff. I mean, who's the banks and all that stuff. That's the value from coming and spending 3 days with my smiling face and hearing my shtick for that long. So again, that's stuff that we keep pretty well protected because again, there's limited deals. We try keeping it in the family, so to speak. I'm sure you can appreciate that. Yeah. So we've got there's about 5 spots left for the one at the end of this month. And yes, it includes the hotels for Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night. So the way it works, you'll fly into Chicago at some point on Friday. We normally host a happy hour Friday night so everybody can meet each other, spend the night Friday night. Well, we stay at usually one of the Hiltons or DoubleTrees right by the airport. And then and then the next morning, 8:30, we jump in the van. We hit the road. We've got our map pre-plotted. We'll start hitting all the assets. And like I said, we'll end up in Indianapolis at the hotel probably sometime in the mid-evening. So that's the longest day that we've done on any of our trips. We'll leave at 8:30, and typically we've rolled in as early as 8 o'clock, as late as midnight into Indianapolis. So then we'll spend the night again at a place usually downtown or by the airport in Indy. Get up the next morning, 8:30, hit it, and then normally that's a much shorter day. We head back straight. It's a straight line getting northwest back into Chicago. Stop off. We'll buy you some really awesome Chicago pizza, and then drive. Everybody can go do whatever they want that night. We'll usually get back to the hotel about 5 or 6 or 7, and then 9 o'clock the next morning at the War Room, and then everybody departs usually that Monday. Anytime after, you try to make your flights 5 o'clock. So this way we're getting a solid, 3 days spending together on that. How can I see the free properties in Chicago? Got to come with us to Chicago, Pat. I'll be putting together. We're going back out there in a few weeks, so I'll be putting together a kind of list of that and getting more details. Those that are more interested in just in not going out there but finding out about it. But with that said, you don't want to get involved in the free properties without knowing the market. So you might know the market, you might not. I don't know. Just be real careful, and we'll want to hold your hand on that. So more on that later. All right. Questions. Oh, hold on. I'm missing some of these here. The Wausau Roadshow again. Yeah, that'll be Fly In Friday. Same thing, Fly In Friday. We'll just do one day out on the bus. That'll be a real easy one. It's Wausau. These are 30 to 40 properties that you can buy as turnkey rentals. They've already got the rent to own people in there. You'll be able to get that at a nice discount. Start getting that immediate cash flow. Or there's opportunities to buy, REOs and do it yourself out there as well. So that's more looking at it from two different, no notes on that one. That's just specifically looking to buy the REOs to rehab them or buy the turnkey rentals, which is huge right now for that market. And then we'll be in the war room, so to speak, on Sunday, and you fly back home Sunday night. So that's just a 2-day trip.